Thank you for allowing us to interview you for our Women of the Putnam County. Hi, my name is Haley, and I'm a graduating senior of the class of 2021. My future plans are to attend Stetson University, majoring in political science and eventually going into criminal law.
Hi, my name is Amy. I am in fifth grade. I attend MBES, and my future goal is to be a vet and work with animals.
Hello, my name is Anaya Hardy. I'm a senior here at Crescent City High School, and my future plans are to attend the University of South Florida, majoring in sports medicine to become a physical therapist.
Hi, my name is Isabella Wakefield. I am in fifth grade at MBES. My future goal is to become an astronomer.
I am Laura France. I am the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction here at Putnam County Schools.
Thank you so much. Where did you attend college and what was your major?
So I actually went to St. John's River State College, or it was community college back then. So when I was in high school, I took dual enrollment classes. I went to St. John's River State College, got my AA, and then went to the University of Florida. When I went to the University of Florida, I was actually a botany major. And after about a year or so, I realized that as much as I enjoyed that subject matter, the people who I was in class with really didn't resonate with me. And there wasn't a lot of like social help. I enjoy helping others. And so I changed my degree to elementary ed. And so I did, since I'd had so many science classes for my first major, so I had an elementary ed degree with a science special, like a science specialist kind of piece, because I had so many science classes. And then I got my master's degree at UF, and then I got all the coursework I needed to be an administrator at the University of North Florida.
What are the specific positions you have had, like in order?
I was a middle school teacher. I taught seventh grade science for a couple years. And then I moved to Palaca High School. That was at Beasley Middle School. Then I moved to Palaca High School and I taught biology. And then I was a dean at Palaca High. And then I ended up being the assistant principal at Palaca High School, where I kind of was over the curriculum piece, like what classes you take and the teaching part. And then I went from Palaca High School as an assistant principal to Kelly Smith Elementary as an assistant principal. And then I became the principal at Kelly Smith. And then I got moved to Mosley. Then I was the principal at Mosley. Then I was brought to the district office to be the elementary ed director. And so I supervised the elementary schools for about 4 years. And then I moved into this position, which is the assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction, which is kind of like what we teach and how we teach at the schools in the county.
How long have you worked in the education system?
So this is my 28th year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't feel like I'm that old, but I am. So this is my 28th year, and I've only worked in Putnam County. That's kind of one of the unusual things, is a lot of times people move around, but I've been able to move around and do lots of different things, but stay in the same county. And I grew up here, so I want to be at home.
So what roles do you have as an assistant superintendent?
So I support there are 3 of us. There's a assistant superintendent for the curriculum instruction side, which is what I do. There is one that does, it's the associate superintendent of support pieces, and that's like your custodial, your buses, transportation, maintenance to keep up the facilities. So it's kind of like how to keep the schools running and the people who have to help with that. And then you have a assistant superintendent of finance who helps with the money, like trying to make sure that all of our money is right. So my job on that 3-tiered system is all of us have different pieces and we report to the superintendent, But my job is really about what we teach in school and how we teach in school. And so I supervise principals. I supervise like our director of teaching and learning or school improvement, our CTE programs. And so I am the support side for kind of like all the things that happen in school, the Cambridge program, which you guys are part of. So those are all pieces that I work under.
Job position you have now is full-time, right? It's all year?
Yes.
You find it now where whenever you were a teacher that you were able to spend more time with your family as to opposed now, or like, how do you feel about that?
So I really, when I started working, I was finishing my master's. So when I was in college, I never stopped. I like went in the summer. I just stayed and did the whole time, which I don't know why I did that, but that's just what I did. And so, because I think back now, I probably could have spent some more time like doing fun stuff, but I didn't. So when I came back and I started teaching, I still had to finish my master's. So I would spend the year doing school and I would work on my master's in the summer. So I still worked kind of in the summer, and I wasn't married or I didn't have kids back then. So the first summer I had off, and I also taught like summer camps, environmental summer camps where the kids would sleep over, and we would teach them all sorts of fun stuff. But the first summer I was like, I'm going to be off and it's going to be so great. I got a call and said, hey, we're missing a teacher to teach summer school. Could you come in? I was like, sure. I've been off a couple of days. Sure. So I've actually never had really a summer off. And so when you have kids, it would have been really nice to have that time off, you know, in the summer. But what we do is I just schedule my vacations a lot around everybody else's break. And of course, I can't take the whole summer off, but I can certainly take a week off and, you know, maybe 2 weeks and do things with them. So, but part of my job now is I travel a lot, not this last year because of COVID, but before I would travel a lot. My kids are older. I have a senior and a junior and an 8th grader. And so now that they're a little bit older, they would always go with me. So I would be in class and we would be like at some Disney resort and I'm in a class studying something, but they got to go and play by the pool or something like that. So it's been kind of fun that over probably the last 4 years, except for this last year in COVID crazy, they've actually been able to, although I'm working, they get to come with me and do fun stuff in the summer. I just don't get the fun. I get the afternoon. But that's been a good perk.
When you were younger, what dreams did you want to pursue?
So when I was in high school, and this is one of the things you got to know, is it's okay to have things change. When I was in high school, I took the health class where you go and work at the hospital. So I actually thought I might want to do medicine, and I did not like it. It was fine, but it wasn't what I was dreaming of, right? But that gave me an opportunity. I got to watch surgeries when I was a junior when that occurred a long time ago before like all the different HIPAA things. But I got to work in the emergency room. I got to watch people do surgeries. Like I got to be in a hospital for a while, and I kind of thought that was really interesting because I like science. But it was not really what I wanted to go to college for. I actually didn't want to kind of have to study that much science and math. I like the parts of science that are kind of fun, but like the chemistry parts, So when I was picking my major and what I was thinking about, I really wanted to do like hydroponics and growing food, sustainability, so an environmental kind of concept. But really and truly, what I really like to do is I like to help people. And so I think in education, you get to help people all the time. That's kind of what you do all day long.
Have you ever had any moment when you doubted yourself or someone doubted you could not pursue your dream?
Probably when I've had like a struggle. What's funny, a funny story. So a lot of times I don't understand if people might doubt me, but I just kind of don't hear it. So when I went to work at Palaca High School, my guidance counselor was still there. My guidance counselor from high school still worked there. And it was so funny because eventually, I went to be a teacher, and then I was a dean, and then I was the assistant principal, but I was over the guidance department. So I actually ended up like supervising her. And what's funny is when I was in high school, she really did not help me like go to college. That was not, she didn't think I had it in me to go to college. And it was funny because at some point she said, "Gosh, Laura, I didn't realize you'd be so successful. I never even thought you'd go to college." And I thought, well, it's interesting because now I'm your boss. Um, but the reality is I didn't really think that she doubted me. I just didn't think she didn't really have that much time for me. So I didn't think much about it. And I just kept thinking what I wanted to do. I was going to do what I wanted to do. I didn't really think about people putting barriers or maybe not being very helpful. I just was like, well, I'll do that. I'm going to still do that, even if you didn't believe in me. So, I mean, it is interesting. She just was like, "I didn't even think you'd make it in college." I'm like, yeah, well, maybe you should pay more attention to your kids. That's okay.
Have you had any people go up to you and be like, "Oh, I feel like somebody's doubting me"? And if you have, like, how did you face that? So I know that's a big problem nowadays.
I think if people, I think what you do is you work by your actions. And so a lot of times people don't support others, maybe because of jealousy, or maybe it's really hard when you're working. You don't really know what the person beside you is doing. You have a lot of assumptions about what people do, but you don't know what they do. And so when people come to me and they're upset, or they don't think that people believe in them, it's really about if you believe in yourself. Like, you have to believe in yourself and you have to make it work for yourself. And yes, those people can put roadblocks for you, but you have to be your advocate to make it right. And it's always about, we think the most about ourselves. We don't think about other people, right? And so when people are doubting you, it really is because they just don't have any idea. Um, when you're a teacher, you think nobody works harder than you. And then you get out and you become something else and you go, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize what this person did because I was in my classroom teaching all day," right? And I just assumed there was a lot of stuff that these people were not doing. But when you get the job, you go, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize how hard this was. I have to do that." And then you think, "Oh, well, that person doesn't do anything." And you get that job, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, this is a hard job too. I didn't realize all the things that were going on behind the scenes." So I think it's always about trying to believe in yourself and work really hard. And when people doubt you, just try to work harder to prove that you can do things.
How would you say college shaped your understanding of the world?
Well, I grew up in Palaca, so there's not a lot of diversity here. Lots of different cultures, lots of different religions. And so when I went to the University of Florida, it was really neat to see and learn and be with people who were not like me. And so that gave me a really good opportunity to respect um, people who were not from my area. I mean, when you talk, when you talk in the South, you have all your, we speak differently than people who come from up north. And so having that ability to work with others from different parts of our country, different parts of the world, I think that that gave me a better understanding of how we could be more inclusive and more supportive to everyone.
What inspired you to go into your career?
Like I said, I was a botany major, and I loved the subject, but um, you didn't seem like you were going to be helping people directly. And so my mom was a teacher. She was a teacher for like 42 years for the district. And so education, and I enjoy the content and I enjoy helping people. And so it kind of was that natural fit to do that next. I had enough classes that I could have the specialist in science and still do elementary ed, which to me is kind of like the fun, creative stuff. Um, and so I got the best of both worlds, but probably it was incidental that that I went into education. It was something known because I knew what my mom did. And it was something that I really felt like could be helpful every time I worked on it. Like, there's not a time in education that you're not helping somebody.
Going off on that response, have you faced anybody who didn't want to work with you, and how did you face that?
Um, I love my work. And so if you didn't want to work with me, I probably would just focus on the work. and ignore the fact that you didn't want to really work with me because we've still got a job to do, right? I can't think of anybody that I've worked with who maybe had a negative, and there are people who probably had a negative thought at the beginning. But I just work really hard to try to be inclusive and try to help everybody. And eventually, when you remain positive, if people didn't like you, they've got to come over to your side. And they might not love me, but they certainly probably can say she works really hard. She thinks about, how people are treated. She's about making sure that it's equity for everybody. Like I would think that my the things I believe in and that I work in every day would shine through.
Did you let anyone push you down?
No. If people try to be negative, I come back with a positive. Now, there are times that people are negative and I have to like go home and kind of lick my wounds in private, like, oh, that made me feel really bad. But in public, you have to be like, it's all great. But very rarely do I go home and I feel like I haven't been successful.
How would you say the environment is at the district office?
Well, I love working here. I love my team, and I have been able to like get people on my team that I just have enjoyed. They may come into work every day, wonderful, and they have the same beliefs I do, and so it makes it really easy. So I think the district office, it's not as fun as a school. I'm not going to lie. Schools are so much more fun because you guys are in it and it's interesting and every day is different and there's always a new challenge. But you get to see like the product of what you're working so hard for, right? At the district office, you have to live through the positive stories that principals tell or teachers tell, or even like my kids come home and say something great that's happened at school that maybe I knew I was getting it together at the district level because I thought it was important for everybody, but it was nice that like when they got to see that presentation, they thought it was so great, right? Because I don't get to see that the kids interact in the programs we do so much. So it's great. Being at a school is great. It's better probably than being at the district office, but I love the people I work with, and so it makes it wonderful.
What personality traits should every leader have?
Persistence, like that, like constantly persistence, trying to change. Like you need to have a vision of what you want and trying constantly to make that vision happen in small steps. You don't have to do something giant, but in small steps every time, trying to push people closer to that vision. I think you have to be positive and you have to be inclusive. You have to include everybody so that you can get buy-in and so that everybody feels like it's a part. And you have to have the mindset that there is constant growth. Even in failure, there's growth, right? And so when things don't go the way you want them to do, looking at it and making some adjustments and moving forward.
How would you say the educational system has changed over time?
Remember, I've been doing this like over 25 years, so it has changed a lot. Technology, wow. Technology is amazing. It's sometimes also painful because a long time ago when I started, things would actually come in the mail to you and you would read them and you'd put them in the book and that's what you would be planning for the following year. And a lot of those didn't come through, but they were in manageable amounts. Now, if the state chooses to do something, they can push an email button and it comes out to us, and I could get 5 of those things in a week that would have been 5 of those things in a year. So the ability to push information out requires educators to move faster than they did before. Change happened gradually over time. But in like the last probably 10 years, 5 for sure, the amount of information people are given and are required to react to is just, the amount is almost too much to handle. But part of that is also now you have better networking because you are able to do all the Zoom conferences and everything's on the internet. I can call somebody who does my job in another county and have a conversation with them that before it might have been a little bit harder to network. So, all of those things that are hard also make it great on the other end. The neat thing to me about you guys is the information is there. No longer is it hard to, like, I think about what I had to do to write a research paper and what you guys have to do. It's so much easier to find information, right? You're not having to go to the library and actually pull out a card catalog and find the book. And but then you've got so much information, you got to whittle through to find out like what is the best of what is out there and what to use. And so it's a positive, it's a negative, but I think about like, if you want to know something, you pick up your phone and you Google it, right? You don't have to research it. And I think the information is amazing that we're able to get in education now, actually just everywhere.
So earlier you said that you changed majors from botany to elementary school. Well, would you say you came across any obstacles starting your second major as a woman?
No, because elementary ed was all, in fact, there were probably just a handful of guys in my class of like 300. So in elementary. Now in the secondary piece, there were more guys, but really and truly, there were more guys in the botany major when we started. Again, it didn't really relate to me feeling like I was going to make a direct impact daily. To when I changed. And I think in education, you make an impact daily. You make an impact probably every hour, which is important. So the barriers I really probably had going to college was the University of Florida was huge. I mean, it's huge now, and it was big back then. And so probably my biggest barriers, I probably should have shopped around for colleges a little bit more and maybe done one that was a little bit smaller. Because I didn't have like I had to switch majors. That was something that I didn't have a lot of counseling on. I kind of did that myself. I think at a smaller school, you have the ability to get to a counselor and to get some support and maybe make some personal connections with teachers that then help you shape what you're going to do next.
So do you currently have a mentor?
No. I have people that I call when I need help. And I would say that to me, usually a mentor has more information than you have, right? And so where I am, there's like colleagues in other counties I will call for help. But this is now the 5th year that I've been doing this. And so it's very specific. So I'll give you a very specific answer right now. We have a charter school application. It's not anything that I've done. And so I've reached out to other people who have been doing this to get some help, but it's not really somebody that I would have talked to before because I've never had to do this, right? So it's trying to find people out there who have something specific that can help you. Right now, probably I'd say my coworkers are kind of my mentors. They all have a specific skill set that is better than their little thing that they do is better than what I do, right? I have a general idea of lots of things, but I bet Ms. Gaborio is there. If I have a question about Canvas or any tech, she is certainly the expert, way beyond what I am. And so I think if I know the people who have specific knowledge here that I go to for help when I need something. But a mentor usually is someone who is beyond you, right? So I work with the people probably closer around me to get a better knowledge of what specifically we're doing.
Who was the biggest influence in helping you start your career?
Probably my mom. And then all of my administrators were pretty good mentors to me. that I was young and I was stupid and they just let me do whatever I wanted, kind of. And I think back to if you ask people to do something and they let you, do the best you can. But I would have, as a brand new educator, I would have some crazy things I would want to do. And I would go to my principal and they would be like, okay, but only if you can do X, Y, and Z too. And so they would set parameters for me and let me do things that were unique. So I'd say probably my principals were mentors to me to let me get extra experiences.
Well, when changing like from being a teacher and going to administration, working at the district office, you say you had to develop some different leadership skills when changing those job titles?
Yeah. So when you're a principal, you're a leader, right? You're the school leader. But when you get to the district office, you are a leader of leaders. And that is hard. That is much harder than being a leader. Because when you're a school leader, all the people that you're influencing are those people below you who are helping you with the teaching of what you want to happen, and the coaching and the food service working the way you want. So you have a vision and you have all these people around you to help make that vision as a principal, right? Well, when you're at the district office, it's really you and like a secretary. And so what you had to do is create a vision that leaders would want to follow, that then they could push through their schools. So it was really hard to go from being the leader that got everybody on board to do something to being a leader of leaders who I needed them to embrace it, to push it out. And then over time, I've restructured the team so that I have more people to support with that vision and support schools for making that vision happen. So, but yes, a leader is great, but a leader of leaders was certainly a skill set I had to read and redefine how I did that.
Was there anyone who wanted you to do something else, but you didn't?
So I'm going to restate it and then shake your head if that's right. That there's a time that somebody wanted me to do something else, but I didn't do it. Is that right? That was a lot of times. Um, a lot of times, there are people who want you to do certain things, and it's not right for the people you work with. And so you have to like make adjustments, or sometimes you just have to say no. Or sometimes you have to rebrand it in your brain as a different way to do something. So yes, there are times when there are things that I'm asked to do that if I don't think it fits the vision of what we want, and it's in direct conflict with the values I have, I can't do it. And part of that is negotiating what you can do. It's not just saying no, it's why, and then but what if we did it this way instead? Or or sometimes it's no, it's not in it's not in cohort, it's not constant with the vision I have and my values, so I can't do that. So but sometimes it's a lot of times people ask you to do things that you don't do. um but a lot of times it's about reframing how you can make what they needed to happen fit within some of those parameters that you need. It's being flexible. What's a leader have to be back in those things? Flexible. You have to be able to make. I talk about pivoting. You have to be able to take something and pivot really quickly for a different purpose.
Have you ever wished you would have pursued a different career?
Okay, I'm going to make y'all laugh. So I love that show, Dr. Pimple Popper. Have y'all seen that on TV? Okay. So if I went back in time, or if I could like start a career at age 50, that's what I'd want to be, Dr. Pimple Popper. Because the people are so happy when she fixes, when she works on their pieces, and they're so happy, and it's such an immediate change. I love that show. So that would be my next career.
What can you do today that you weren't able to do before your success?
Actually, probably now I am more capable because of my title and because I've worked so long in the same place. I mean, because I've been here in Putnam for 28 years, probably my longevity and my title allow me to easily make changes that might have been harder before because people trust me. Because you've been, when you've been shown to be successful and to be trustworthy, then a lot of times you don't have to fight so hard for people to believe in something you want to do.
What is your favorite part of your job?
What is my favorite part? So this has probably been the highlight of 2 weeks, guys. I love all of I love being on the front end of what's coming. I will say that. Like, we're about to change our standards. And although that's a challenge, it's also a problem solving process. And I love that. Um, I like all parts of my job, really. But my favorite parts are when I get to see somebody happy for something that I did to help them.
Do you know of anybody that you may have influenced by going into your career?
Probably some teachers who have become administrators. I have several teachers that I've worked with who are now like assistant principals or coaches. So I would think that I helped influence them, at least help them realize that they were a leader and push them into becoming a leader. Because you can be a teacher leader. You can be a teacher in a classroom and be a phenomenal leader of your peers, right? But sometimes people want to lead more than just their peers. They want to lead a larger group. So probably the people that I have helped notice that they could go further.
So what advice do you have for someone new in your industry?
Work really hard. It is not our hours are like 7:45 to 4:30. It's not teaching is not, teaching doesn't work in those hours. You always have to put in extra hours. Sometimes you hire people and you think they're going to be able to do one thing. And as you watch and you learn them and you see what they can do, you might go, oh, well, they are not great at that part, but let me tell you what they would be great in. And so I think it's always about finding the potential for the people who work with you to always help them grow and not try to make it, always trying to find solutions for people so that they can grow and be better.
What hard skills or soft skills should someone have in your field?
A soft skill is being honest without being hurtful. So trying to there was a book I read and it's clear is kind. So being clear to someone, although sometimes it might feel short and maybe harsh, being clear is being very kind, because when you give people mixed messages, it's not kind because they don't know what to do with that. But being honest sometimes, but being kind about how it is something that's a soft skill. And that's kind of like how a coach tells you how you can be better without hurting your feelings about what's your next step to be better, right? And so that's a hard skill. Is really, it's a lot of learning all the time. It never stops learning. You never stop learning. But it's really like, how do you take that learning and help others with it?
What are your long-term career goals? And is one of your goals to maybe become the superintendent one day?
My thought is I love what I'm doing, right? I do love what I'm doing and I'm close. I mean, this is year 28, right? But I'm only 50. I'm actually not even 50 yet. So I think I've still got a lot of time, but I would love to go back to be a principal one day. I love being out of school. I think my goal would be to help people and find people to help make this system the best. I think Putnam County Schools could be phenomenal, right? With the right people in place. Superintendent, I would say probably that's not my goal, but I don't know. I mean, if it was something I needed to do, sure. But I like being the support person and helping, not necessarily being the first person out. But that could change. That could change like when I'm 60, right? That's 10 years from now.
What was your most memorable experience with a student?
Oh, wow. Remember, I've done this for a long time. Be really hard to come up with one. Um, I had a kid in probably the third year I taught who was super, super smart, but was not very tolerant of other people's ideas. And so I taught him in seventh grade, and I turned around and taught him again when he was a freshman in high school because I moved schools. And it was interesting to be able to help him from when he was like 12, 13 to when he was like 15, 16 about how to change his ability. He was so smart, but like how to change it from being so argumentative about being more listening and taking in what people need, what they believe, and listening. So he became a Episcopal priest, which is amazing to me. But he had been raised kind of Southern Baptist and believed very specific things, and then trying to help him figure out how he could take other people's viewpoints and listen to them before he responded, because he was and he was a talented speaker. So he has grown up, he has worked in Los Angeles, and he is back in Orlando. So that's probably one of my favorite kids that I taught. And see that, and I'm gonna get emotional, sorry. He had a passion, and it was able to help direct that passion so he could affect a lot more people instead of putting people off by his really right in your face kind of conversation. I think I helped him be a little bit more tolerant and inclusive.
Do you have a quote of motivation that you live by every day, or like that you tell people?
So I have two actually sitting next to my desk. So I don't have like one quote. So I get these little things that come in, and if I like it, I'll put it up and I'll leave it up for a little bit. So so you guys know we're consolidating schools, so we got a lot of work to do, right? So it's almost overwhelming, the amount of work. And this quote came in probably about a month and a half ago, and I was like, I need to put that up because I need to remember this. And it says, Rome wasn't built in a day, but every day they were laying bricks every hour. You don't have to do it all today, you just have to lay a brick. And so it's about, not trying to, you got this much to do, trying to make something you do every day towards that goal without having to try to do it all, because it's a lot between now and beginning of school next year. And the other was, how are you complicit in creating conditions you say you don't want? So those were two that came in recently. I'm sorry. I had to share this. There's a lot of discord in some groups, and sometimes you just want to say stop it, and sometimes that's creating the condition that you want people to be open and honest and be able to communicate, and sometimes you just want to say stop it because you just want to stop the conversation, but then you're being complicit in what you say you want people to be able to share and people to be able to include. And so don't have behaviors that make it impossible for what you say you want. Sorry.
Fine. Sorry.
You have to click, do not show these parts where I'm crying, girls.
I know you say that you spend a lot of your time working, but what is some fun things that you say you do in your free time?
So I was a botany major. So I have a garden that I work in that I like. And I have a cartoon hand today. It's huge. I also keep bees. So but I got stung this weekend because I was trying to rush. I should have waited till later to move the hive, and I didn't. I was trying to be fast. So I do those things. We love to cook at my house. And my kids all sing and do music. And so it's spending time with my family, working in the garden, keeping my bees. I planted plants all weekend in my yard. So it's really about being outside and being with my family.
How do you manage?
How do I manage my time? Very poorly. There is never enough hours in the day to do all the things I want to do. And I'm really bad about saying it's going to take X amount of minutes, right? I'm really bad about that. So I have a great support system. My kids are phenomenal, and they really help keep me going. And then my husband and my mom and my sister, we all help each other, but they help me a lot to keep my time going. Like when I've put too much on my plate, somebody's there to kind of help lift some of it off.
Everybody makes mistakes. What would you say has been one of your biggest mistakes?
Oh boy, I make mistakes every day. A biggest mistake? Oh, I don't know.
If you can't think of one, you don't have to answer.
Okay. But I make mistakes all the time. It's like the magnitude is the issue is never letting a mistake get so big that the magnitude is huge. Like you get a mistake and you correct it, or you say, oh my gosh, let me say I've done this, I need somebody's help. So my thought is you don't make giant mistakes, because you're there when the mistakes are small, you're getting help to fix them. But I've made big mistakes before. I know I have, but none are coming to my mind today.
Did you have any specific strategies that you saw worked when disciplining past students?
So I have someone who works with me now, who, when I was a dean at the high school, he got a referral. And he's so funny because he's like, Laura, he's like, you realize that you are the only person I could never talk out of my, he said, I got referrals before, but I could always talk my way out of them. He said, and you were my dean and you got my referral, and now you were like, nope, sorry. And he said, and I had been able to like joke around and get, and just use my attitude to get away with it, you know? And I said, well, I don't even remember you coming to my office. Like, I don't remember it because it's not about like individual pieces, right? It's about the picture as a whole. I was like, I don't even remember you ever coming to my office. What'd you do? And it was something silly. And I was like, well, that doesn't sound like a big deal. Like, what did I make you do? Like, what was your punishment? He said, you made me go set up for prom. And I was like, oh. I said, well, that was always a tactic of mine, is, punishing people can be harsh, and it can be mean, and it can be terrible, or it can be something that's of public service to others. So we needed extra hands. You're going to come help set up for prom. He goes, yeah, well, it wasn't bad. I was like, no, it should have been fun. I wasn't there to punish you. You were going to do a little bit of time by helping others. And I was like, but that would have been one of my biggest tactics, is instead of making it like a giant punishment, making it where you can like be restorative. You can help somebody. You did something wrong, but we're going to help you be better in the end. And so it'd be even better if it like related, if what you were doing positive related directly to the person who you harmed. But I'm sure that his thing was probably so simple, it probably didn't harm anybody. It probably was just being silly. But, so my best disciplining things were helping others, like by not making it like, oh my gosh, you've got ISS, no, it was more like, oh, you're going to show up and help us set up for prom. I need more hands. The other thing is, and now I don't know what it is like now, because it's been a while since I've been at the high school to work, but when kids would use bad language, I would call the parent and I would be like, I'm so sorry, I can't read this referral to you. I don't use that language. I'm gonna let your child tell you. And so turning that over to the kid to have to do, it showed me like that the language wasn't accepted, right? And they're having to say to their parent exactly what they said. And that was like, that's the biggest punishment, right? Like from your own mouth, telling your mom what you said, knowing that it's not appropriate and that they're not going to accept it. So that was probably one of those things too, is like, if you're not going to say it to your mama on the phone, maybe you shouldn't be saying it in the hallways. Like, but I like doing that too, because I'd be like, I'm so sorry, I don't speak this way. I can't read this referral. They're going to have to tell you what they said. And y'all just had that reaction. So I know that it still would be kind of the same, like, oh yeah, I couldn't tell my mama. That's one of the things I do tell my kids, is don't do anything. Like, I have these silly little rules that are on a poster, but the last one is don't do anything that wouldn't make your mama proud. Like, that should be your level of like, should I do this? Well, if my mom would say she's happy about that, that's okay. If she's not, I probably shouldn't do it.
I remember you saying that you You have to be honest, but you have to be kind. Was there a time you were too honest?
Yes, sometimes in my attempt, well, I'll tell you what happened is I used to try to like use all these words to make people feel better to get to the point. But what I found is in the end, people really didn't know what I was trying to say. And it's not fair because really what I need is a change of behavior. And if I'm not clear about what that behavior looks like, then it's, and I've used all these flowery words to talk to them. They didn't get the point, right? And that's not fair. But sometimes in an op in a opportunity where you're trying to be brief, maybe a person needed a few more minutes. So yes, there have been times that maybe I was too quick to say something when I should have given them a little bit of wait time and some processing time. So yeah, there, and I still make that mistake if I don't know the person really well that I'm having to speak to.
What are your professional experiences?
Some of the neat things that are probably common but not often done. We do a lot of support of other districts. So some of the things besides the job that I do for our district, a lot of times we make presentations for people in the state, or even like the superintendent today at 1:00 is addressing a group in, I think they're in San Antonio, Texas. And so he is talking to them about some of the initiatives we've had, but I've been able to help craft I've been able to help support the like the PowerPoint and the videos and stuff that he's going to use today to talk about our district. And so those are the things that are not every school district gets to do those. And we've done them for national audiences. We've done it for school audiences. And we've done it on multiple things, whether it's our novice teacher mentors that are supporting our beginning teachers so that they make a successful transition into the new, their new job. Whether it's our STEM initiatives that we've been doing, the robotics clubs and the coursework that we're including. Let's see what it's our graduation initiative. We have a school that the school Mosley has been a national presenter. So being a part of those things that we're telling others what Putnam has done to get through some of our hurdles and some of our barriers. That has been really great for us because sometimes we don't stop to look at the success we've had because we're busy in the work. So when you have to present, when somebody asks you to present, you have to stop and think about all the things you did to get to the spot that you're at. And that reflection helps you remember how far you've come and all the things that you thought were so hard to do. And now they're just normal, right? So those professional experiences, being able to present to groups across the nation or across the state, have been very helpful, at least for our reflection.
So how would you go about establishing good public relations in this district?
So our superintendent, when he came in 5 years ago, that was one of his main goals. And so a lot of that is about being available for whenever, first of all, like anytime anybody calls with a problem and they're upset, sometimes they're upset and not nice, but it's okay. Trying to get back with people in a very timely manner. So even if that's just one person's upset and I'm calling that one person, I need to do it quickly so that they feel like we've listened and that we can take action, right? But even in that case of like the public, I'll give an example. We had our Chamber of Commerce really wanted to start a firefighting program. And so we listened to them, and although I didn't really know that we really needed a firefighting program, we listened to them. We wrote an application for an appropriation from Florida, the Florida Senate and the House, so a legislative appropriation. And we included it as a public service academy. So it would be law enforcement, public firefighting, EMT, so like those public services. And so like that's listening to the Chamber of Commerce say that they're concerned and they want something to happen, and being able to take that they wanted a firefighting, academy, but take that and go, well, I agree that that's great, but we also need EMTs and we also need criminal justice people. So let's do all of these things together. So listening to the public and responding and making your system better, I think that's helpful. I think we put out a lot of videos to try to showcase like the Caitlin Bose's class where it's the store, where, just trying to show people that we're innovative and we can try to make things happen.
Who do you look up to or used to look up to?
So there's several people. Probably first was Karen Hughes. She was my principal at Palaca High School, and she was the first person to give me an assistant principal job. And then Janice Pounds, who was the director of elementary education, as I was a principal, she was my go-to. And all these people have retired because remember, I'm old now. And so, and then Helen Muir, who was the person who had this job before she retired. And so those have all been my mentors and the people I look up to. And oddly enough, all women. Look at that.
Well, thank you for giving us your time to interview you, Ms. Rand.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for having me and making me reflect.
You're welcome.
Y'all have a great day.
Yeah.
Bye.